this movement that we've been doing for over a year now. And I'm really excited to be here with all of you. It's fun because organizing around food in our communities, organizing around the environment is the base that I've come from in my career and a lot of my work over the last 15 years. So I always love being able to be part of gatherings around food. And I always tell people that I love talking about food and working in food because it's a way to touch on absolutely everything else. And so I want to unpack that a little bit more as we're here. Again, my name is Brandy Brooks. I use she, her pronouns. I'm very excited to be a renter and housing justice activist and environmental justice activist living in Kensington and going now for the second run for County Council at Large. And going back to that conversation about food and how it touches everything, there's so much that we can actually learn from thinking about and from understanding our food system and how it works. It's the most basic need that we have, to gain sustenance that allows us to stay alive and to do all of the other things that we do. It's a key component of how we connect to our land and our air and our water and the ecologies that we are a part of. It ties into every other system that we work on. It's connected to housing, it's connected to transportation, it's connected to education, it's connected to immigration, it's connected to our economy. And when we look at how we grow our food, it also tells us a lot about this moment that we are living in and the struggles that we are having between a paradigm of how we live on this planet with one another that is extractive and exploitative and keeps us separate from one another. Like when you think about monocultural agriculture and the way that we produce so much of our food, it is really about taking so much out of our ecology, but not giving back as much as we really need to, not caring for all the pieces of our ecology, and keeping things divided instead of allowing them to grow together and support one another. But then when you look at what we could be doing in our food system, and when you look at the traditions that we have, indigenous traditions from folks all over the world who are deeply connected to land and a sense of place, you see that there are so many different ways that we can frame what a food system is about, that it doesn't simply have to be about extracting profit, but that at its heart, it can be about nourishment. It can be about our connection to one another. It can be about the cultures that we build around our food. Food is not simply nutrients. It's a whole cultural system. It's a whole practice of being together and being on this planet. And so when we begin to think about food in that way, it opens up tremendous possibilities. And so many of you who are on this call have been part of opening up those kinds of possibilities, understanding how we even get familiar with our food system once again, instead of distanced from where our food comes from, understanding how we make that connection between the plant that grows in the ground or the animal that we tend to, and our own nourishment, and how care for them connects to care for ourselves. Understanding how we can grow in different ways that are constantly about restoring and replenishing ourselves and our ecologies, and are about partnerships, the partnerships that nature is always showing around us, around how things work together in order to create, as Jenna was talking about, abundance. And this is really the beautiful thing when you look at our environment and our ecology, even with some of the devastating things that we witness in our environment, that we still have such a beautiful planet that is constantly generating abundance, restoration, healing. And that is actually mirrored in us because we are part of those systems too. And even though we are facing incredible challenges around housing, incredible challenges around growing racial and wealth inequality, incredible challenges around how we are going to face the threats of climate change, when we go and when we talk to our neighbors, when we talk to other folks in our communities, what I discover and what I love about being an organizer is hearing people's visions. Jenna was talking about that boldest vision. So many of us have these bold, brilliant visions, have these dreams, have these passions that we too often get told don't have a place in the world. But in fact, that is our abundance, the skill, the things that come out of our lived experience that we know, the different places and histories that we bring into our communities. This is our abundance. And so when we think about politics, we have an opportunity to either think about and live out of abundance, or to continue to live out of a mindset of scarcity, of extraction, of fear, of division. And I know which one of those sounds life-sustaining and joyful to me. And that's why I think about politics, I think about governance the way that I do. Because I really believe and have had a chance to witness through my professional life that when we respect and support one another, when we honor the different ways that we know and the different lived experiences that we have, it's not just some touchy-feely thing, you know, where we're like drums and singing Kumbaya, although both of those things are beautiful, so let's not harsh on them. But it's also about, we get better policy. We get transformative policy when we operate out of this different mode. We get housing policy that protects and is rooted in a right for all of us to be housed safely and affordably and in communities that are deeply connected. We get economic policy that recognizes and supports workers as the foundation, as the source of our economic thriving, and then treats them with that respect, supports them with fair wages, supports them with safe working conditions, supports their right to collectively bargain for the kind of workplace. And then we get transportation policy that is designed to connect us to one another, not just to try and move us in and out of a central hub where we think that's where the economy is, but to recognize that our economy and our connectivity needs to be across the county, up and down the county, needs to make sure that the way that we get around doesn't mortgage the future of our planet and our children in the name of efficiency. When we think differently out of this abundance, out of this ecological perspective, then we can tap into what true sustainability means, our ability over generations to live and thrive and support one another and grow together. And that's the way that I want to talk about public policy in Montgomery County. Look, I'm a policy wonk, and so I will love to get into the details of the numbers and the percentages, and those are important. Real numbers, talking about what affordability actually means in real numbers is critical. But I don't want to get lost just in the technical details without forgetting why we do this. And we do this in support of our lives, in support of our dignity, in support of the people and places that we love. And that's what I also think gets people inspired to re-engage in politics. Because like Jenna said, and as many people feel, not just over the last 2 years, but for a long time, it can be easy to look at the way that politics happens and to feel like it's not a place that you want to invest your energy, to feel like it's not a place that's going to be responsive or respectful. But I actually believe in democratic governance. And I believe that we deserve to have a system where engaging in politics, engaging in the process of deciding the systems and structure that will govern our lives, should also be a place where we feel not disappointment, not disheartened, but where we actually feel joy, where we actually feel connected, where we actually feel supported. where we actually feel like we are able to love and care for one another. And these aren't always things that we talk about when we talk about politics. We don't often talk about like love as the source of our politics. But I believe that we absolutely need to. We don't often talk about or value the work of caring for one another in our homes, in our workplaces, in our broader economy, on our land. But that's what keeps us going from generation to generation. And when we create systems that aren't bound by the parameters of profit as the only measure of whether we do well, then we find that there are so many additional things that can grow out of the way that we develop public policy together. So I'm excited to have more conversation with you all about the visions that we have for our lives, about the critical challenges that we are facing in our communities, and about our opportunity, not just in this one campaign for this one election, but as an ongoing movement that will go for years and grow new leadership each and every year, each and every moment in our communities, for how we can build the kind of futures that we dream about, the kind of futures that make us smile when we look ahead to what we can create together. So I hope you all are feeling excited. I hope you all are feeling excited about this reframe on the way that we are going to approach elections and public policy in this cycle and going forward. And I really look forward to hearing some of your questions about the different areas where you want to see us bringing that transformation to the systems and structures that govern our lives. Great. And I think one of the things that there you go. Hi, Carol.
So, hello, everyone. This is Carol McSween Brooks. I am on the campaign trail with Brandy as her campaign treasurer. And thank you so much for the inspiring. It was like I was engrossed in it too, and listening to how we can work together. So this is an interesting part of our meet and greet, where we actually do a question and answer. So please post your questions in the chat if you have not already. And